Hello, class. In this tutorial, I'm going to be covering how to create a geometric pattern. And this one's going to be different because we're going to have shapes that touch our borders, okay? And that's very crucial because, if you have a shape that comes up to a border and you want it to continue out, you have to know how to do that, okay? And so I have this right now on this first design I just created today in preparation for this tutorial. And I look at designs in a different way than perhaps most people. And I think some people can look at a design and go, oh, that's kind of just, those are just shapes. I look at this and I actually think about something more figurative, like I think of in terms of like I would call this one falling cubes because that's kind of what it feels like if this was to be animated and moving. And so to me, this pattern really kind of moves quite a bit here. And I call this one Geo 1. And I thought that was important to point out because, these are considered geos. I've been calling them a geometric pattern, but in the industry, they refer to them as geos as a short. So if you ever hear that term, you'll know that it means geometric pattern because when I had one of my former students from Carter's come into the class and she's talking about geos, I go, well, what's a geo? And she had to explain that it was a geometric pattern. So anyway, this was the first one I created, and this was the second one, and I call this one gumballs because it feels like gumballs kind of flowing through there. And one of the things I did was I actually kind of just created this irregular zigzag effect here, which I'm going to show you how you can do that. But it continues on, and actually I had several iterations of this. And I started off with gray, and then I started adding color. And this is one of the great things about having pattern swatches. The other thing I want to point out here before I get started building one of these is you could always, like, let's say that right now this right here, if I wanted to edit, let's say I wanted to edit one of these earlier ones, and I don't have it, I can actually pull the swatch out. So I'm pulling the pattern swatch out here, and what I want to do is that we want to ungroup it. And do we need to expand it? Nope. We just need to ungroup it. And see, I can go in there now and take this design here, and I can change its colors and put it back in there. And so I'm just going to change a couple of little minor things here. All right, just to make it interesting. And I'm going to just drop that out, that black out. There we go. So we get something a little different here. Now you can't put a gradient into a pattern because, and I can show you why. Just a second what it looks like. But let's go and take a look at this one right here for a second that I just made, and there's the new one. Okay, and so I could keep editing that and editing it, and if I wanted to go back to another one that I had before and edit it, I can pull it out and do that. So anyway, let me show you what happens if we do put a gradient on one of these, just in case somebody, because I haven't seen that yet from anybody, but if anybody was thinking that, let's pull up my gradients right there, and let's just simply put blue into that. Now, let me drag this over here, and we'll see what it creates. It's not a bad design, to be honest with you, you know. But keep in mind, you may not get the desired effect you were looking for if you're trying to put a gradient in something because it's always going to start and stop. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And if I was trying to make this so that it was shorter or whatever, I might have to divide this up. So it's those things that you need to know, and that's what I'm going to cover right now. So let's get in here. And what we need to do is, for this assignment, you want to work within a square because it'll make it a little easier for you. Later on, if you continue to design patterns, you could probably do a rectangle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to show Grid because this grid's important. I've never used it before except when I was creating a pattern like this. And one of the other things we want to do is we want to make sure that we snap to the grid, okay? So I'm going to draw a rectangle, a square here. And we'll just simply click and then hold down the shift key and pull it out to whatever size we want that to be, okay? And then we'll just put a basic color in it. Or I think sometimes if you eliminate the process of dealing with the color in the beginning and just deal with gray, you can get to the design process a little faster. We'll take off the rectangle here. I mean the stroke, apologize, but for that. And then let's get started here and let's talk about maybe if we had a line coming in somewhere here, and that line was going to go up and exit here. And we'll go down here. So that's three across, and we'll see if this is going to be three across this way. Okay. And let's just put in there for the moment, we'll put in, well, not black stroke. Let me just swap that there. Yeah. I'll put black here, and then we'll just swap it. There we go. I should have an action set up for that, by the way. I hope you're hearing me. I'm not. I'm kind of mumbling to myself. But let's go and drag this over into the swatches palette and see what it creates. Okay. So I'm going to pull that in, and then I'm going to just make another rectangle here. And we're just going to apply that swatch so you can. Whoops. You know what I did? I applied it to the stroke. You could actually apply a pattern to a stroke. There we go. So it does this. It makes an L, and it doesn't continue on. Now, if we wanted it to continue on, we need to think about in terms of where it's entering the square and where it's exiting. So let's go in here and let's think about. Okay, first of all, this thing enters along this grid here, this line here. So let's go over here and we'll click and we'll draw over. Now this exits, so I'm gonna have to do this right here along this grid line here. Now I actually have right now what I'm encountering is I actually have a pattern, our last patterns on this. And so let's see here. So let's take that pattern off and put in black instead. All right. Now, if I've done my job correctly of lining these up, then this will be a continuous line. And it looks kind of interesting. I wasn't thinking about this. I just sort of came up with it off the top of my head. And we're going to drag this over into here like this. And then I'm going to click on this. And then I'm going to apply this. And look at that. So it continues on. Okay? And that is so key in doing this, is trying to figure out where things should line up. Okay? And so you can make unique designs this way. Anything that's entering needs to exit at the same, well, it doesn't have to exit in the same location, but we need something that will kind of carry it on. And that's what you got to understand about this process, because this line here is coming in, it's going up, but then it's coming into our square here, and it goes up and exit at the same location. So that is so key. Now let's get in here and double check and make sure everything looks okay, because I see a little bit of a line. Sometimes Illustrator will do that, but the only way to double check to make sure it's not something that I have done is by zooming in. So I'm going to zoom in there and make sure so that nothing was there. So zooming back out here. Because sometimes it's just how Illustrator's drawn something, or it could be because it didn't snap well enough. And it almost looks like this is a little bit off. This is closer, but then see, this is the problem with Illustrator. The closer you get, that's why we want to use snap. Okay. So if I was going to continue to work on this design, then let's go back, and I would add some other kind of shapes in here, perhaps. Okay, and we could use any kind of shapes we want to. We could use polygons. Maybe I'm making this time, and let's put in black on that, a triangle shape. Okay, because that's what I was using last week, and that's where where it left off, and I don't mind using a triangle, but let's maybe move this triangle over here for the moment, and then we'll duplicate it, and we can put it in different shapes. I was just thinking it's kind of cool maybe having something like this. We'll see what it makes, okay? Because you don't know until you actually put it in there and see it repeated. So I'm going to pull this on over here. I'm going to click here, and then let's do this. It kind of creates this illusion here. And so one of the problems is that these are totally lined up, and so you can kind of see that it creates that line. So let's just move that off. Let's move that over, or actually let's go perhaps. Let's see here. I'll just move that over this way. Maybe move this one over one, okay? And let's see what we make this time when we just do that. And notice I'm doing a different method here. I'm actually just dragging things into a swatch. This works okay with small amounts of elements. You know, when you're dealing with the illustrated elements, it really slows things down. That's why we weren't doing that earlier, okay? And so I get sort of a neat design, kind of like that. Now, if I want to make this even cooler, maybe what I might do is start to rotate these. Maybe this one's rotated this way. Maybe this one's... Actually, you know what? I feel like rotating this one because it's so kind of stuck in there. And let's just see what this makes, okay? And I'm just going to do this each time here. And see, the thing is that you could fill up your swatches here, and then we could just delete swatches too, okay? So and I deleted my rectangle. I shouldn't have done that. I'm always doing that. I put a pattern on it and go, oh, I hate it, and it's like, oh, I should just leave it there because it'll make things easier. So, see, I can get something kind of unique like that, and it's just a matter of playing with this more and more until we get something, and then we're going to play with color, okay? So I really kind of enjoy doing this. I wasn't planning on doing a tutorial this week because I thought we could just build on the skills, but then I thought it's very important that you guys learn about using the grid and having things touch the borders, okay? So let me see. I'm going to actually see what this one looks like here. Pull this over. Okay, and then we'll apply that, and that's interesting. It gets a little close there, and it's getting close to this one right here, so this one's going to pop up like that. And I'm going to delete some of these in just a second here. Okay, so here we go. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I feel like there needs to be another shape, maybe another couple of shapes. So we got to see where things are located. We could probably put something here, and I'm thinking maybe what I might do is use some circles. So I'm going to make a circle here. Oops, it's got that pattern on it. All right, put a circle there and put a circle down here. And maybe make this circle, so we could do different size circles. Actually, you know what I want to do here is kind of swap these. And let's see what this creates. I mean, this is interesting. By just having these so irregularly placed, but it gets repeated, it creates something kind of unique, okay? And it looks like I could probably use another circle somewhere in here. So I'm going to take that and take another one here and move that up, and then maybe just move this one up a little bit more here, and just see what that makes, you know. And like I said, I'm going to delete these excess swatches in just a second. Oh, I like that. That is cool. That is just really neat. All right, and you want to play with your positive and negative space. You know, all those things you learned in 2D design applies to pattern making, and that's something you guys need to develop your eye for as far as positive and negative spaces, because it's so key. Oops, I didn't want to delete that. So now what I want to do is let's get rid of all the ones I don't need. I like that one. Yes, we'll delete that. And now we're going to start coloring. And so I'm going to color this one, and I like to think kind of outside the box sometimes. So like maybe we'll do some kind of unusual background color. Thinking maybe, do a little kind of a, that's interesting because it's just kind of a darker color. I'm just working off the top of my head now. If I was thinking of trying to make designs that I wanted to sell, I would definitely be going on to print and pattern to see some of the latest designs and to see what people are producing, because that is so key. One of the things I try to avoid is using super bright colors, because that's just something I'm so inclined to do. I like using pure colors, but I'm trying not to do that with this. So, yeah, I like that color there. Maybe this circle picks up that color. And then we'll do this one. Maybe that one becomes more of a darker blue. Maybe this catches that same color. And then I'm thinking it's always cool to do something lighter. So we'll do that one light. And maybe we'll just keep this one. I don't know. We could keep it black, but maybe, let's see, I'll bring that down and bring up my yellow. Yeah. Now let's just see how this coordinates here, okay? So let's drag that over into here. And therefore, we can apply, ooh, that's kind of neat. Huh? That color of the background I want to take down just a little bit. So let's just take that down, make that a little bit lighter, a little bit less intense, and drag that into here again. And then let's click on this. Ooh, see, that's much more brighter, much more colorful. The other thing I can do is, see, I can just keep playing around until I get my first color scheme. Because like our last assignment, I want you to repeat this a few times. So let me go in here, and we're going to get this shape and this shape, and we're going to change this. And now, mind you, if I really change both of these, now I want to show this to you for a moment. So let's say we did this and drug this in here. I'll show you what the effect is. You know, and that's something you might want, you know, but if you want this line to continue the same color, then we need to make this one the same as this, okay? And so let's drag this over. And you might not want to use lines. I'm using lines going in and out. You could have shapes that are touching the edges, playing around with those. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I like that much better, okay? So let's say, and the only thing I see that really bugs me is there's too much of this color and not enough of the darker blue. So I'm thinking, let me see here. It's probably just these rectangles here. We're going to make a little different color here. There we go. I'm going to try that. And then I'm going to pull this over into here. Looks like I can just keep doing this. And like I said, the only reason I wasn't showing you the process before, where we're duplicating the rectangle 4 times to see what it looks like, is very useful when you're dealing with these really complex illustrated elements. But because these are much more simplistic in shape, we could just kind of keep doing this without slowing down our machine, without having any glitches happen. Okay, and I kind of like this design. So if that's the case, if I like this design, this would be my first design here. And let me zoom out here. So now we got our grid, and we can just keep that grid up for the moment until we make this first one. And then, you know, I would duplicate this. Oops, so I make it too long. Okay. I think it's supposed to be about that. Yeah, okay. And so what I would do is, and see, that kind of continues through, which is nice, but we're going to do a different color scheme. So now that I've liked this color scheme, I'm going to get rid of all these other color schemes except the grayscale. I like to keep the grayscale for some reason. And I'm just going to duplicate this, duplicate this way, and then I'm just going to go in here, and we'll change up our color this way, okay? And so we're going to be doing this just like we did our last one. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to begin this tutorial because I think you'll know enough from what I'm doing here. Ooh, see, maybe we change the background to a totally different value scheme, okay? So we make that, ooh, I like that. That's neat. That is very neat. All right, so let me bring this down so maybe this is a little bit more brighter. I like how dark that is. I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit. Okay. The one of these I want to change up. I want to change one of these up just slightly. Maybe bring down black, maybe bring up the magenta a little bit, just so it's a little different. And let's see what this design looks like. Interesting. Now, if we don't like it, we can go through and do some other things to it. Okay, but this is basically what you're going to be doing. You're going to be laying out four of these, and they need to be different color schemes. Okay, and they can have some of the same colors. It's kind of interesting how this kind of carries through here. But anyway, that's going to be our tutorial for this time.